"You're too poor to sit at this table," my brother Marcus sneered, adjusting his Italian silk tie. His perfectly manicured fingers twisted the Rolex on his wrist, a nervous habit he developed since being promoted to CFO at Davidson Industries. "The annual family dinner is for successful people only." The crystal chandelier cast prismatic shadows across Morton's Steakhouse's finest table where my family gathered in their designer outfits. My simple black blazer from Nordstrom Rack felt like a costume among their Gucci and Tom Ford ensembles. Mom touched her pearl necklace, the one Dad gave her on their 30th wedding anniversary, and avoided my eyes. "Sweetie, maybe it's better if you skip these dinners until your situation improves. The reservation alone is $500 per person, which she clearly can't afford." My sister-in-law Victoria chimed in, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she reached for her wine glass. "Not on a secretary's salary at that tiny tech startup." I stayed quiet, sipping water from my crystal glass while they dissected my apparent failures. None of them knew that I owned not just Morton's, but the entire Harrison Building complex in downtown Seattle's financial district. The acquisition had been finalized last month, along with 5 other premium properties, all through my holding company, Phoenix Investments. The maitre d' approached our table, his expression carefully neutral. He was new, hired after my acquisition, and hadn't been briefed about my ownership. "Perfect. Is everything to your satisfaction, Mr. and Mrs. Davidson?" he asked my parents. Dad puffed up with pride, his silver hair catching the light. "Excellent as always, James. We've been coming here for 20 years. Best steakhouse in Seattle." I could have mentioned that I'd already approved plans to renovate the entire restaurant next month, including replacing the outdated wine cellar Dad loved to brag about. But I stayed silent, playing my role as the family disappointment. "Speaking of success," Marcus continued, cutting into his $175 Wagyu steak. "Victoria and I just closed on that penthouse in Madison Park. Water views, private elevator, the works. How's that studio apartment treating you, sis?" The studio apartment was actually my home base, a modest place I kept while traveling between my real properties. The penthouse in New York, the villa in Monaco, the countryside estate outside London. But they didn't need to know about those. "Not yet." "It's fine," I replied simply, watching Victoria's perfectly painted lips curl into a smirk. "You know," she said, leaning forward conspiratorially, "there's an opening for an executive assistant at Davidson Industries. The benefits are excellent, and it pays better than your current position." Dad nodded approvingly. "That's thoughtful, Victoria. A foot in the door at a real company could make all the difference." They had no idea that Phoenix Investments had been quietly buying shares in Davidson Industries for the past year. I now owned 47% of the company's stock through various shell corporations. One more acquisition, and I'd have controlling interest in the family business. "I'm happy where I am," I said, cutting a small piece of my salmon. "No Wagyu for me tonight, had to maintain appearances." Mom sighed dramatically. "Darling, you're 32. When are you going to get serious about your future? Look at your brother, youngest CFO in Davidson Industries history, beautiful home, perfect wife, and twins on the way," Victoria announced, placing her hand on her still flat stomach. We were waiting for tonight to tell everyone. The table erupted in excitement. Congratulations flew back and forth while I sat quietly, thinking about the folder in my bag. The one containing proof that Marcus had been embezzling company funds to cover his gambling debts. The same folder that showed Victoria had been selling company secrets to our biggest competitor. But tonight wasn't the time. Everything had to be perfect for what I had planned. "We'll need to start looking at private schools right away." Mom gushed. "The waiting lists are impossible these days." "Already ahead of you," Marcus boasted. "We've got appointments at Wellington Academy next week. Only the best for our little ones." I suppressed a smile. I'd bought Wellington Academy 3 months ago, along with 2 other elite private schools in Seattle. The headmaster would be very interested to learn about Uncle Marcus's creative accounting. "Remember when we tried to get you into Wellington?" Dad asked me, shaking his head. "Thank goodness they saw through that scholarship application. Those spots should go to families who can actually afford the tuition." The memory stung even now. I'd had the highest test scores in the school's history, but Dad had refused to pay my tuition after I questioned his treatment of our family's domestic staff. "Public school will teach you the value of money," he'd said. He'd been right about that, just not in the way he'd intended. Speaking of education, Victoria interjected. My cousin's firm is hiring entry-level data entry clerks. The pay isn't much, but it's more appropriate for your skill level. I thought about the artificial intelligence company I'd founded 5 years ago, now worth $2.3 billion. The same company that had revolutionized data processing and put dozens of traditional data entry firms out of business, including Victoria's cousin's company, though they didn't know that yet. I appreciate the thought, I said, keeping my voice neutral. You can't keep drifting like this. Marcus lectured, signaling the sommelier for another bottle of wine. The family name means something in this city. Your situation reflects poorly on all of us. The sommelier approached with a bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild 1982. I'd acquired 60 cases of it last year, through my vineyard investment subsidiary. This bottle alone cost more than what they thought I made in a month. Perhaps, I suggested quietly, we could talk about something else. There's nothing else to talk about, Dad declared. Your brother is carrying on the family legacy, while you waste your potential. Do you know what people say when they hear you're my daughter? They ask if you're the one who works as a secretary at that little startup. Little did they know that little startup was a shell company, one of hundreds I controlled through Phoenix Investments. Every morning I walked into that modest office, played my role as a low-level employee, and ran my empire in plain sight. I'm sorry to disappoint you, I said, meaning none of it. That's the problem, Mom sighed. You're not sorry enough. Not everyone can be successful like Marcus, but you could at least try to be respectable. Victoria nodded sagely. There's no shame in admitting you need help. Marcus and I have discussed it, and we're willing to let you manage one of our rental properties. Something small to start with. It would give you some real business experience. The irony almost made me laugh. My real estate portfolio was worth over $4 billion, with properties in 12 countries. I'd learned more about business in 1 year of secret empire building than Marcus had in his entire career playing corporate prince at Dad's company. That's very generous, I replied, but I'll have to decline. This is exactly why you're in this position, Marcus snapped. Too proud to accept help, too lazy to work hard like I did. Some of us earned our success. I thought about the 80-hour weeks I'd put in during the early days, working my regular job while building my company in secret. The nights spent studying market trends, the careful cultivation of contacts, the strategic acquisitions that had turned Phoenix Investments into a powerhouse. You're right, Marcus, I said softly. Some of us did earn our success. The waiter arrived with dessert menus, but Dad waved them away. None for us. Some of us have early meetings tomorrow. Real meetings with real executives. I knew about his meeting tomorrow. My company was acquiring his largest supplier, and the CEO would be informing him of the ownership change. Another piece in my carefully constructed puzzle. Of course, I said, reaching for my modest handbag. No designer labels here. I should go too. Early day tomorrow. Bus schedule to keep. Victoria asked with fake sympathy. I thought about my private helicopter waiting at Boeing Field, ready to fly me to a board meeting in Vancouver tomorrow morning. Something like that. As I stood to leave, Marcus grabbed my arm. Listen, sis, this tough love comes from a good place. We just want you to wake up and realize you're wasting your life. I gently removed his hand, noting the slight tremor in his fingers. A telltale sign of his cocaine habit. Another secret I'd discovered during my due diligence of Davidson Industries. Thank you for dinner, I said, looking around the table at my family's dismissive faces. It's been illuminating. Don't forget what we discussed, Mom called after me, about skipping these dinners until you're more established. I paused at the table's edge. Don't worry, Mom. Everything will be different after next Sunday. Next Sunday? Dad frowned. What's next Sunday? I smiled, thinking about the carefully orchestrated revelations I had planned. The press conference announcing Phoenix Investments' acquisition of Davidson Industries. The evidence of Marcus's embezzlement and Victoria's corporate espionage. The documents showing my ownership of their homes, their children's schools, even this restaurant where they'd just humiliated me. Just another family dinner, I said quietly. One I wouldn't miss for the world. As I walked through the restaurant I owned, past the wine cellar stocked with my private collection, and into the garage where my driver waited discreetly in an unmarked car. I thought about everything that would change in the next 7 days. They thought I was too poor to sit at their table. By next Sunday, they'd realize I own the table, the restaurant, and their entire world. Let them enjoy their wine and Wagyu steaks tonight. Let them bask in their imagined superiority. In 7 days, they'd learn what real success looked like, and I would savor every moment of it. Monday morning dawned clear and crisp over Seattle. From my modest office at the startup, I watched Dad's Bentley pull into the Davidson Industries parking garage across the street. Right on schedule, exactly 10 minutes before his supplier meeting. My phone buzzed, a secure message from my chief of operations, Western Tech CEO, entering Davidson Industries lobby. Operation Phoenix proceeding as planned. I smiled, imagining Dad's face when his biggest supplier informed him they'd been acquired by an unknown conglomerate. Phase 1 of dismantling his empire was about to begin. My secretary desk provided the perfect vantage point. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see straight into the Davidson Industries executive conference room. Dad sat at the head of the table, Marcus at his right hand, both radiating the arrogant confidence of men who thought they were untouchable. The Western Tech CEO entered, looking nervous. I zoomed in with my phone's camera, activating the lip-reading AI my company had developed. Complete ownership change. Restructuring effective immediately. New management reviewing all contracts. Dad's face turned red. Marcus loosened his tie. I took a sip of my grocery store coffee, keeping up appearances, and watched their world start to crack. My secure phone buzzed again. Madison Park Towers ownership transfer complete. Penthouse deed updated. Perfect. Marcus and Victoria's dream home now officially belong to Phoenix Holdings. They just didn't know it yet. Sarah, my boss called from her office. Can you file these reports? Right away, Miss Johnson, I replied, playing my role. Meanwhile, my real assistant was finalizing the paperwork for acquiring Davidson Industries' majority shares. By Friday, I would own 51% of the company. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Dinner at our club Wednesday. Don't come, members only. Maybe next time when you're more successful. Love you. The Broadmoor Club. I'd bought it last year through a shell corporation, along with 3 other exclusive country clubs in Seattle. The membership committee would be very interested in the proof I had of Dad's creative accounting and Marcus's gambling debts. Sarah, sorry to interrupt your texting. Victoria's voice dripped with condescension as she stepped off the executive elevator. Is Miss Johnson available? I looked up from my phone where I'd just approved a $50 million acquisition. Do you have an appointment? I don't need one. Don't you know who I am? She adjusted her Hermes scarf, a fake though she thought it was real. The boutique owner who'd sold it to her would be hearing from my lawyers soon. Of course, Mrs. Davidson. One moment, I pressed the intercom. Miss Johnson, Victoria Davidson is here. Send her in. Victoria swept past my desk, pausing to add, you know that position at Davidson Industries is still open. Though you might want to upgrade your wardrobe first. No one wants an assistant in whatever that is. I glanced down at my carefully chosen cheap outfit, the same outfit I'd wear to the press conference on Sunday when I announced my acquisition of their company. My secure phone vibrated. Davidson Industries stock purchase complete. Current ownership 49.8%. Almost there. Just a few more days of playing the poor relation. The afternoon brought another series of calculated moves. My team leaked strategic information about Western Tech's acquisition to key industry players. Davidson Industries stock dropped 3% in an hour. Marcus would be panicking now, checking his cocaine-fueled investment gambles. My other phone, the CEO line, rang. Miss Phoenix, the Wellington Academy Board has approved the curriculum changes. Also, we've discovered some irregularities in the Marcus Davidson twins pre-admission donations. Document everything I instructed. We'll need it for Sunday. At 5 p.m. sharp, I packed up my drugstore makeup and scuffed laptop bag. Through the window, I watched Marcus and Dad leave Davidson Industries, heads bent in worried discussion. They hurried past my building without a glance. never imagining their family failure was watching from above. My driver met me at the secret garage entrance. To the penthouse, Miss Phoenix. The real one, James. I need to prepare for tomorrow's board meetings. The unmarked car wound through Seattle's streets, past properties I owned and businesses I controlled. We pulled into a private entrance of the city's most exclusive building, my actual residence, not the studio apartment my family thought I lived in. Messages, Miss Phoenix. My real assistant reported as I entered the penthouse. The Davidson Industries board members have privately expressed concern about Marcus's recent decisions. 4 have indicated they'll support new leadership. Also, Victoria's cousin's company filed for bankruptcy this afternoon. Right on schedule, I murmured, watching the sunset over my city. What about the evidence? All verified and ready. Marcus's embezzlement, Victoria's corporate espionage, Dad's tax evasion. The FBI is very interested, but waiting for our signal. I pulled up the family group chat on my cheap phone. New messages about Wednesday's club dinner gleamed on the screen. Mom, ordered that Wagyu you couldn't afford on Sunday. Marcus, save me the wine list. Some of us can afford the good stuff. Victoria Ladies Spa Day Thursday. Sorry, Sarah, members only. Little did they know I owned their phone's parent company. Every message, every financial transaction, every secret was mine to access. My real phone chimed with updates. Davidson Industries stock down 5%. Marcus's favorite cocaine supplier, arrested. Victoria's lover transferred to London office. Dad's supplier contracts under review. Mom's country club membership flagged for review. All the pieces were falling into place. I opened my safe and removed the folders I'd prepared for Sunday. Documents proving my ownership of their homes, their club memberships, their children's schools, evidence of their crimes and indiscretions, proof that their entire world belonged to me. But most satisfying was the single sheet of paper that would start it all. The announcement that Phoenix Investments now owned Davidson Industries effective Sunday at noon. They thought I was too poor to sit at their table. In 6 days they'd be begging for a seat at mine. My secure phone buzzed one final time. Davidson Industries stock purchase complete. Current ownership, 50.3%. I smiled, thinking of Sunday's family dinner. Confirm the restaurant reservation, I told my assistant. Same table as always. But this time make sure the entire staff knows exactly who owns the place. Later that night, another group text, Dad, big announcement at Sunday dinner. Davidson Industries news. Marcus can't wait. Victoria family success stories only. Mom, Sarah dear, maybe skip this one. Too expensive for your budget. I sent a single reply. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Then I turned to my real work, finalizing the documents that would show them exactly what success looked like. Sunday couldn't come soon enough. The 48th floor of Phoenix Tower hummed with anticipation on Saturday morning. In exactly 24 hours I would reveal myself as the owner of not just Davidson Industries but half of Seattle's premium real estate. Final reports, Miss Phoenix. My executive assistant placed a stack of folders on my desk. Everything is ready for tomorrow's revelation. I opened the first folder, a comprehensive dossier on my family's reactions to the past week's events. Davidson Industries stock had plummeted 15% after losing their major suppliers. Marcus had tried to cover his gambling debts by embezzling more company funds, digging himself deeper. Victoria had desperately offered company secrets to competitors, unaware they were all my shell corporations. Dad had called emergency board meetings, watching his empire crumble piece by piece. Update on the Madison Park penthouse situation, I asked, reviewing the property seizure documents. Marcus and Victoria attempted to refinance this morning. Their application was denied by all major banks. My assistant smiled. Since we own their mortgage company, along with evidence of their fraudulent loan applications. My phone buzzed with another family group text. Victoria hosting pre-dinner drinks at our penthouse tomorrow. Sarah, don't strain yourself trying to contribute to the wine collection. If only she knew that every bottle in their impressive cellar was actually mine, purchased through one of my vineyard holdings. The media strategy is in place, my PR director reported. Every major business publication has the press release about Phoenix Investments' acquisition of Davidson Industries. They'll run the story precisely at 12:15 tomorrow, during your family dinner. I nodded, remembering all the Sunday dinners I'd endured, listening to their mockery while building the empire that would eventually consume theirs. And the other arrangements. All set, the FBI will arrive at 12:30 to discuss Marcus's embezzlement and Victoria's corporate espionage. The Davidson Industries board has been quietly briefed. They're ready to support your immediate takeover as CEO. The private schools have flagged the twins' applications pending the criminal investigation, and the country club board is prepared to revoke their memberships. Perfect. Every aspect of their privileged lives would collapse simultaneously, leaving them to face the truth. The family failure they'd mocked had become their master. My secure phone lit up with surveillance footage from Davidson Industries. Marcus was there on a Saturday, frantically shredding documents. Too late, we already had copies of everything. Another alert, Victoria was at their soon-to-be former penthouse, arguing with the building manager about their rejected refinancing application. Dad was at his club, trying to arrange emergency loans from his wealthy friends, all of whom had been quietly warned off by my financial team. Miss Phoenix, my assistant interrupted my thoughts. Your mother just made a rather interesting call. I pulled up the transcript on my secure tablet. Mom was speaking to her society friends, planning to publicly disown me at tomorrow's dinner. We must take a firm stance, she'd said. The Davidson name can't be associated with such failure. If only she knew that by this time tomorrow, the Davidson name would be worthless, and Phoenix Investments would own everything they'd ever valued. Your cheap outfit for tomorrow is ready, my stylist reported. Carefully selected to look like department store quality, but actually custom-made to reveal your true status at the perfect moment. I smiled, remembering Victoria's snide comments about my wardrobe. The reversible blazer looked modest from one angle but would reveal hand-stitched Phoenix emblems when I chose to show my true colors. A final report arrived from my intelligence team. Dad had just called an emergency family meeting at their house tonight. Everyone except me, of course. I pulled up the house's security feeds, installed months ago when I bought their mortgage company. They gathered in Dad's study, faces grave as they discussed Davidson Industries' mysterious troubles. Something's wrong, Marcus paced, collar stained with sweat. All our suppliers, our contracts, it's like someone's systematically destroying us. The board is asking questions about the financial reports, Dad admitted. They're talking about bringing in outside auditors. Victoria clutched her fake Hermes bag. We need to announce something big at tomorrow's dinner. Show everyone the Davidson family is still on top. If only they knew their phones, their house, even the clothes on their backs were leveraged to companies I controlled. Their entire world was built on foundations I owned. What about Sarah? Mom asked. Should we even let her come tomorrow? It's embarrassing having her there in her cheap clothes, talking about her little secretary job. Let her come, Marcus said. Having a failure in the family makes our success look even better. I switched off the feed, turning to the wall of screens showing my real empire. Phoenix Investments Global Operations, the companies we controlled, the properties we owned. Tomorrow they would learn that their successful world was just a small corner of my domain. My assistant entered with the final item, a custom-made leather portfolio containing the documents that would shatter their illusions one by one. Everything's prepared for maximum impact, she reported. The restaurant staff has been briefed. Security is in place. The media is ready. Even the weather forecast is perfect. Sunny skies for the new Phoenix era. I reviewed the timeline one last time. 12 o'clock. Family seated at their regular table 12:15. Media announces Phoenix acquisition 12:30. FBI arrives for Marcus and Victoria. 12:45. Property seizure notices. Delivered 1 o'clock. New Davidson Industries board convenes 1:15. My formal introduction as owner and CEO, and the contingency plans. In place. If they try to leave, every exit is covered. If they make a scene, security will handle it discreetly. If they attempt to access any accounts or properties, they'll find everything frozen. I stood at my office window, watching the sun set over my city. Somewhere out there, my family was plotting to humiliate me one last time, unaware that their world would end in less than 24 hours. My phone buzzed with a final group text. Dad, big news tomorrow. The Davidson legacy continues. Marcus' success runs in our blood. Victoria can't wait to celebrate our family's achievements. Mom Sarah dear, don't feel bad when you hear the news. Not everyone is meant for greatness. I typed a simple reply, looking forward to it. I have some news of my own. Then I turned back to my empire's command center, watching the final pieces fall into place. They thought tomorrow was about their triumph. Instead, it would become the day the phoenix rose from the ashes of their contempt. One last thing, I told my assistant. Make sure the restaurant's security cameras are recording in high definition. I want to capture every expression when they realize who really owns their table. The night settled over Seattle, my buildings illuminating the skyline one by one. In their homes, my family prepared their speeches and celebrations, unaware that every word, every action, every plan was being monitored by the empire they didn't know existed. Tomorrow they would learn what real success looked like. Tomorrow the family failure would become their master, and I would savor every moment of their realization. Sunday 11:55 a.m. I stood in front of Morton's Steakhouse, watching my family arrive in their luxury cars. Vehicles financed through companies I secretly owned. Dad's Bentley, Marcus's Maserati, even Mom's birthday gift Mercedes, all soon to be repossessed. The maître greeted me differently today, with the respect I'd earned but hidden for so long. Miss Phoenix, everything is prepared according to your specifications. I nodded, straightening my seemingly modest blazer. Remember, not until I give the signal. 11:59 a.m. My family settled at their regular table, already celebrating their imagined victories. Sarah, you actually came. Victoria smirked, adjusting her fake designer watch. Brave of you considering the announcements we're about to make. I took my seat quietly, noting the champagne they'd ordered, from my vineyard, though they didn't know it yet. My phone buzzed silently, media outlets standing by, FBI en route, all systems go, 12:05 p.m. Dad stood, raising his glass. Before we order, I want to make a toast. Today Davidson Industries announces its largest expansion yet. We've acquired Western Tech and, I'm afraid that's incorrect. I interrupted softly, checking my watch. Western Tech was acquired by Phoenix Investments last week, along with all your other major suppliers. Confusion crossed his face. What are you talking about? And how would you know about 3, 2, 1? I counted under my breath. The restaurant's multiple screens, normally showing sports games, suddenly switched to business news. The anchor's voice filled the room. Breaking news, Phoenix Investments, the mysterious conglomerate that's been dominating Seattle's business scene, has acquired controlling interest in Davidson Industries. The company's CEO and founder will be revealed at a press conference this afternoon. The color drained from Dad's face. Marcus choked on his champagne. Victoria's perfectly manicured hand trembled as she reached for her phone, only to find it locked out of all accounts. What's happening? Mom whispered, her voice shrill. Robert, do something. I slowly reached into my bag, withdrawing the leather portfolio. Perhaps I can explain. You? Marcus laughed nervously. What would a secretary know about? I reversed my blazer, revealing the elegant phoenix embroidery. The maître approached, along with two men in dark suits. Miss Phoenix, he said formally, the FBI agents have arrived as requested. Phoenix, Victoria's voice cracked. What is this? I opened the portfolio, removing documents one by one. This is the moment where you learn what real success looks like. Marcus Davidson, one FBI agent stepped forward. We need to discuss some financial irregularities at Davidson Industries. And Mrs. Victoria Davidson, the other added, regarding the sale of corporate secrets. I laid out more papers, property deeds, bank statements, court orders. The penthouse has been reclaimed. Your club memberships revoked. Bank accounts frozen. Cars will be repossessed by end of day. You can't do this, Dad sputtered. I built this company, and I bought it, I replied calmly. While you were mocking my little secretary job, I was building an empire. Phoenix Investments now owns everything, your company, your properties, even this restaurant where you love to humiliate me. Mom's hand flew to her throat. But how? Remember when you said public school would teach me the value of money? It did. Every insult, every dismissal, every time you called me a failure, I used it, built something bigger than you could imagine. The screens changed again, showing Phoenix Investments holdings, billions in assets, properties across the globe, companies in every major industry. The daughter you were too embarrassed to claim. I continued, savoring each word. She owns half of Seattle now. That little startup where I worked, a front for my global operations. Victoria started to stand. Two security guards materialized beside her. Please remain seated, ma'am. Miss Phoenix isn't finished. I removed the final document, Dad's resignation letter as CEO. Sign it, now, or the FBI can add tax evasion to their investigation. His hand shook as he scribbled his signature. 50 years of arrogance crumbling in an instant. You'll destroy the family name. Mom pleaded. The Davidson name. I smiled. It's already gone. Phoenix Investments has acquired everything. You have nothing left except what I choose to give you. Marcus lunged for his phone, desperately trying to access accounts. My money is gone, I finished. The gambling debts, those come due today. Victoria's lover in London, terminated. The twins' trust funds, dissolved. Your entire world now belongs to me. The restaurant had gone silent, other diners watching the drama unfold. Years of pent-up satisfaction coursed through me as I delivered the final blow. You said I was too poor to sit at this table, I stated, rising slowly. Now you'll need my permission to enter this restaurant. You claimed I was a failure. I own every piece of your success. You told me to learn my place. This is it, at the head of an empire you never knew existed. Security stepped forward. Shall we escort them out, Miss Phoenix? No need. I gathered my things. Let them finish their lunch. It's the last meal they'll eat here, or anywhere else I own. Which is, as you're learning, almost everywhere that matters. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom, about those Sunday dinners. You're right, I won't be attending anymore. I have an empire to run. The sound of Victoria's sob, Marcus's cursing, and Dad's shocked silence followed me out. In the street, cameras flashed as reporters gathered for my official unveiling as Phoenix Investments CEO. My real phone buzzed one last time. Davidson Industries transition complete. Phoenix logo being installed now. I looked back through the restaurant window. My family sat shell-shocked at the table they'd used to judge me from. Their world shattered into pieces they'd never rebuild. They wanted success. I'd shown them what it truly looked like. The phoenix had risen, and their ashes were my wings. The end